The anime begins with Narumi waking up late to go to her first day of work at the office. While she runs to catch the train on time, she promises herself not to let anyone discover her secret. She is an otaku. When she arrives at the company, a co-worker, Koyanagi, shows her around the company building. On the way into her office, Narumi sees two guys and recognizes Hirotaka, a former middle school classmate and a dear friend, and immediately tries to be a good co-worker girl who reconnected with an acquaintance and invites him to dinner after work. Hirotaka accepts, surprised, and to Narumi's bad luck, he asks her if she will go to the next summer Comic-Con, leaving her petrified. Later, they go to a bar and Narumi tells him that if he keeps her secret, she won't tell anyone that he's a gamer. But Hirotaka isn't interested in hiding it and thinks she should neither. Then she asks him if he has a girlfriend. He says no and asks her the same thing. And Narumi drinks her beer in one gulp, saying that her boyfriend broke up with her before their first anniversary because he didn't want to date a yaoi fangirl, and since it hurt her so much to see him every day in the company, she decided to resign and look for a job in another company. So now she is determined to hide her true self so as not to have problems with her next boyfriend, but Hirotaka says that she should date someone who accepts that she is an otaku. And for a moment, she considers dating him, but she quickly dismisses it because they are friends. So she asks Hirotaka about the orange-haired guy he was with earlier, and he says that Kabakura has a girlfriend. The next day, Narumi has trouble adjusting to work, and Kabakura tells Hirotaka that it's good to have a childhood friend of his working here. Later, at lunch break, Hirotaka takes the opportunity to play with his video game console. While Narumi observes Koyanagi, she suspects that she is also an otaku, and that makes her happy because she always wanted a yaoi fangirl friend. Fortunately, Narumi was right, and not only that, it turns out that Koyanagi is a cosplayer, and she even once bought her manga at the Comic-Con because she's a big fan of hers. 2 weeks later, Narumi still has a hard time adjusting to the office because she distracts herself with her timeline. So when Hirotaka stops by to go drink, she hasn't finished her work yet, so he sits and waits for her for hours. When they go to a bar, Narumi says that she invited him to drink because she wants him to help her level up in her video game. But soon the talk turns sentimental, and she sadly says that she always chooses idiots as boyfriends who make her doubt herself. On the way home, Hirotaka makes a proposition to Narumi. If she agrees to be his girlfriend, he will always be there for her. If she works late, he will wait for her. If she has problems leveling up a game, he will help her. He promises to never disappoint her or make her cry. He will make sure she never doubts herself, and most importantly, as her boyfriend, he will go to the con with her as her sales assistant. That convinces her immediately, and the two shake hands in agreement to start a relationship. Days later, Narumi tells Koyanagi that she is dating Hirotaka, but she feels awkward about it, so she tries to avoid him in the office, which makes Koyanagi and Kabakura think that the two of them had a fight. Koyanagi advises Narumi to talk to him, while Kabakura advises Hirotaka the same, who thanks the advice and compares their relationship with the Sims game. But when Hirotaka goes to talk to Narumi, he hears her say that Kabakura is more of her type that makes him angry, and his face is so scary that she just wants to run away. So Koyanagi excuses her, but Kabakura intervenes, saying that the couple must talk alone, and they start arguing like when they were teenagers because they were schoolmates in high school. Narumi takes advantage of her opportunity and runs away from there, but Hirotaka quickly catches up with her and apologizes for scaring her and for telling her that he liked her. The problem is that he never told her. Suddenly, Narumi also apologizes and hugs him, but their tender moment is interrupted by Kabakura and Koyanagi's screams. At night, the next day, while the girls argue about their favorite manga's characters, Kabakura invites them to have a drink after work as an apology for yesterday. But Narumi convinces them to go to the bookstore before going to the bar, but when they arrive, it turns out that it is a manga store. It turns out that Kabakura also likes reading manga, but he doesn't like wearing office clothes when he goes to a manga store because it makes him look desperate to buy his favorite manga. While the guys do their shopping, the girls have a best friend moment since they both like reading and they finally have someone with whom they can buy them without being embarrassed. Although Koyanagi also wants to convince Narumi to get into cosplay. After buying a lot of manga, the three of them decide to go home and read them, while Hirotaka just wants to play video games. The next day, Koyanagi and Kabakura are so tired from having stayed up late reading manga that she smiles ironically at him, and he takes it as a good smile, thinking that they would finally stop pretending that they are not a couple in the office. 2 weeks later, the day of the convention has arrived, but it was not an easy time for Narumi, as she fell behind on her manga drawings and had to ask Hirotaka for help. Still, she arrives at the place dressed cutely, and luckily sales are going well. Later, Kabakura also arrives next to Koyanagi cosplaying her favorite male character. Her costume is so good that the fangirls go crazy, and Hirotaka teases Kabakura that a lot of fangirls are salivating over his girlfriend, and he says that he is trying to doesn't look so as not to get jealous. After that, Narumi laments that she can't go shopping for goods, but Hirotaka convinces her to go to the stalls she wants to go to, and he will replace her by selling her manga. The problem is that word soon spreads that a handsome young man is selling, and Narumi runs back to preserve her boyfriend's dignity. When the convention ends, he tries to invite her to dinner, but she says that even though the convention is over, she should start drawing a new volume of her manga. The next day, Hirotaka invites her to drink at his house after work, and she quickly accepts, and hours later, she surprises him by finishing her office tasks early. On the way to Hirotaka's house, they remember how they used to spend a lot of time together when they were kids, but she doesn't even remember how they started being friends. At home, Narumi is very nervous, since it is the first time that she is at his house, and when he approaches her on the sofa, she remembers sadly that her hair is beige and asks him to wait for the day when she has the pink one. He doesn't understand what she means, since he just wanted to look for the video game controllers that were on the couch. After a racing game, Kabakura and Koyanagi arrive, which surprises Narumi, since she thought she would spend the night alone with Hirotaka and gets angry for having made her nervous unnecessarily, but the anger soon dissipates when Hirotaka confesses that he feels happy to have many friends for the first time. Later, Hirotaka goes to take a bath and Koyanagi warns him that she will look for his stash, and although Kabakura tries to stop her, Narumi joins her friend and they both check Hirotaka's entire bedroom. Koyanagi says that she knows Kabakura so much that she knows where he would hide his stash, but she doesn't know much about Hirotaka, and Narumi surprises them by describing her boyfriend's personality, although she is also surprised when she sees that Kabakura and Koyanagi have a couple necklace. Disheartened by not finding Hirotaka's hidden stash, Koyanagi leaves the room, but Narumi stays looking through a box with children's games and finds some trade chopsticks, and Hirotaka enters his room telling her that those are the most powerful, because he once traded them to a girl who only wanted weak chopsticks, and reminds Narumi that this is how their friendship began. She feels a little guilty for not remembering that and tells him that she deserves to be punished, so he surprises her by kissing her, and she slaps their foreheads. Narumi says that she didn't know he wanted to kiss her, and he reminds her that he's a man after all, which causes her to scold him for his taste in voluptuous figurines, and he notices that she turned over all his figurines. After that, the two go to the living room and see Koyanagi sleeping sweetly on Kabakura's shoulder. After 4 days later, Hirotaka finds Narumi crying while watching an episode of Sailor Moon R, and she excuses herself by saying that it is her youth, and if he saw an episode of Dragon Ball Z, he would also cry in the office, so the two would end up crying while watching an episode from Sailor Moon. After that, at lunch, Narumi shows her friends a photo of her and a cosplay blue-haired girl, and Kabakura jokes that she looks very pretty, and Hirotaka covers his face in embarrassment because he is the blue-haired girl. Then Koyanagi shows Narumi a cute photo of her and Kabakura hugging, which makes him blush. The next day, Koyanagi and Kabakura don't stop arguing. She wants him to cosplay and he refuses, since he only likes to see people cosplaying. Plus, he feels that he is not too handsome to cosplay, and Koyanagi says that a guy with average looks can also be someone handsome with a lot of effort and makeup, which makes him angry, and he asks Hirotaka's opinion. But the blue-haired man only says that he already cosplayed at Narumi's request and it wasn't a big deal. Then Koyanagi assures that she can make her boyfriend look cuter than Hirotaka, and that exasperates Kabakura, who complains that she is too much of an otaku. But Koyanagi counters by saying that it is more embarrassing to be an otaku like him and hide it, but Kabakura assures that he doesn't hide it, just enjoy it in moderation. Luckily, the fight ends and Koyanagi congratulates Narumi and Hirotaka for not arguing as much as they do, so Narumi says that they get along because they are friends and respect each other's tastes. Although Hirotaka doesn't agree and says that he gave up on her, which makes Narumi angry. So Kabakura and Koyanagi have to stop her before she angrily jumps on her boyfriend. 3 days later, Koyanagi convinces Kabakura to cosplay in exchange for a rare figurine she got him, and the next night, Koyanagi proudly shows her work to Narumi and Hirotaka. The next day, Hirotaka proposes that the four of them go to a bar. That night, Narumi asks when Koyanagi and Kabakura started dating, which causes an endless fight because the two say that the other confessed first. After a few beers, they continue fighting, so Narumi suggests they reconcile by saying something nice about each other. Kabakura doesn't take it seriously and says that he likes Koyanagi's. This makes her so angry that she throws a shoe at him and walks away, but Narumi stops her and notices that her friend is crying. Then Koyanagi vents her heart by telling her that she doesn't like fighting so much with Kabakura, and she's afraid that he's only with her because they're both otaku and it's convenient to date each other. That catches Narumi's attention, since she and Hirotaka are dating because it's convenient. All this is heard by Kabakura, who asks Narumi to leave him alone. He hugs her and tells her that he could date any otaku girl who is calmer than her, but he doesn't because he wants to be with her. After that, they go back to the bar and Narumi can barely hold back her tears since she heard everything. Later, on the way home, Narumi tells Hirotaka that they are dating because it is convenient, but he says that he likes watching her do what she likes, and she laughs remembering that he likes her. Days later, Narumi and Hirotaka talk about an anime they watched last night, but he barely slept, so he takes a nap while Narumi and their two friends go to a new cafe. There, she meets a very friendly barista, and soon she realizes that he is now an old acquaintance, so the two sit down to talk animatedly, and that arouses the suspicion of Koyanagi and Kabakura. She thinks that Narumi and Mao were a couple, while Kabakura debates whether to tell his friend or not, but Koyanagi beats him to it and sends a message to Hirotaka, who arrives just after finishing his nap. Hirotaka sees Narumi and Mao at another table and quickly approaches them, and Kabakura thinks that everything could end badly, but in reality Mao is Hirotaka's younger brother by 7 years. At night, everyone goes to Hirotaka's apartment to play video games, and while the four friends are engrossed in a video game talk, Mao cannot understand what they are talking about, and Narumi realizes that they let their guard down in front of a non-otaku. Although Narumi thinks that video games can be enjoyed by people of all ages, so she invites Mao to join a game teaming up with Hirotaka, but Mao is terrible at video games, so the games quickly end with him losing. Later, Hirotaka falls asleep and Mao offers to walk Narumi to the train station, but Kabakura suspects that Mao likes her, so he tells him that she has a boyfriend, and Mao thinks that Narumi and Kabakura are dating, so he apologizes for interfering in their relationship. Then Koyanagi decides to end the misunderstandings and kisses Kabakura and says that Narumi and Hirotaka are dating. Suddenly, Mao starts to cry and Kabakura thinks that his suspicions were true, but Mao clarifies that he is happy for his brother. He thought that his brother would be alone in life, so he always wished that Narumi would stay by his side, and now his wish has come true. And that makes Kabakura cry too. Days later, Narumi and Hirotaka don't know how to get home without getting wet in the rain, so Kabakura gives them his umbrella and runs to Koyanagi, who scolds him because she thinks he forgot his umbrella and he asks her to spend the night together, to which she quickly accepts. The next day, Narumi seems sad and Hirotaka asks Koyanagi to help to cheer her up, and she says that only something can cheer her up, photos, and asks Kabakura and Hirotaka to pose for her. Later, Hirotaka tells Narumi that he knows she is sad about something and invites her to drinks after work, but she fakes a smile and tells him that everything is fine that bothers him because he thinks she sees him as an undependable boyfriend. So she musters her courage and confesses that she is sad because her favorite manga character passed away. At the bar, Koyanagi and Hirotaka tease her because of her sadness, while Kabakura also gets sad because they shared the same favorite character. The next day, Kabakura and Hirotaka stay late at work, so Koyanagi and Narumi leave and the green-haired girl tells her friend that Kabakura was so busy last year that they didn't go out for Christmas, and asks her if she has plans with Hirotaka, although Narumi assumes that they won't go out either because her boyfriend doesn't like crowded places. Days later, Christmas is approaching and Narumi asks her boyfriend at what age he stopped believing in Santa, and he says that since he was 6 years old and discovered that his parents hid his gifts in the closet. Later, they pass by Neo's cafe and Narumi is delighted to see him wearing a Santa jacket, although she soon takes pity on him because he is in charge of serving coffee to couples at Christmas, and he is single. But Nao does not feel unhappy since he loves Christmas and likes to feel like Santa for a day and share that bond with all the parents who pretend to be Santa Claus. On Christmas Eve, Koyanagi leaves work but soon runs into Kabakura, who tells her that he has already finished his work and made a reservation at a very elegant restaurant. It turns out that he was working very hard to finish in time and make up for their failed date last year, so much so that he made the reservation half a year ago, while she shows him that she bought him an exclusive figurine as a gift, which makes him very happy. Days later, the four friends agree to meet in a role-playing video game where Kabakura is a knight in armor, Narumi, a cute elf, and Koyanagi, a sorceress. The three waits for Hirotaka, but since he does not appear in time, they decide to face a dragon alone, although it is too strong. Fortunately, Hirotaka's archer character appears, although it is not him, it is Nao, and as expected, he is a disaster and is almost burned by the dragon. Suddenly, the archer starts moving differently, and the other three notice that the real Hirotaka has arrived and he defeats the dragon in no time. The next day, the boys and girls separate at dinner time as Kabakura invited his juniors to drink. In another place, in a cafeteria, Koyanagi and Narumi catch up on their Yoa tastes, although they never agree on who is top and bottom in their fictional ships. On the other hand, Kabakura and Hirotaka engage in a men's talk with other coworkers, until the others start talking about Narumi. They think that she is cute, pretty, and a little clueless, someone who would be a good girlfriend, but they heard that she spent Christmas with her boyfriend, and that puts them off a little, while Hirotaka's face lights up because it makes him happy that Narumi mentions their relationship to others. After that, the other guys start talking about Koyanaji and shower her with compliments about her work and voluptuous body, which makes Kabakura angry. But he manages to control himself and drops the topic by asking them not to talk about girls who have boyfriends. Meanwhile, the girls continue talking about their yaoi ships, but this time it's more serious. They debate a possible ship between Hirotaka and Kabakura, but they also can't agree on who would be top and bottom. When leaving the cafeteria, they pass by the bar and the boys think that the four of them are going to eat together, but they only greet them and continue on their way because their yaoi debate continues. Days later, Hirotaka is worried about the storm, since the thunder and lightning scare him, and Narumi feels sorry for him because she also fears them. He tells them that when he heard the lightning, he remembers when he was a child the power went out at home due to the storm he lost in his video games. Later, Hirotaka is still anxious about the storm, and Narumi reminds him how she sometimes went to his house when she was afraid of lightning, which makes him feel better since she is chickener than him. The next day, the four friends go to the bar and Hirotaka remembers why he pierced his ears. He had seen that Narumi's boyfriend had earrings and thought about imitating him, but then he regretted it. After a few beers, Koyanaji starts flirting with Narumi, and Kabakura tries to stop her and she accuses him of being jealous. Hirotaka then asks Narumi if she would get jealous if he flirted with other girls, and she laughs, saying that he wouldn't do such a thing. The next day, Hirotaka sees Koyanaji and Kabakura talking calmly like a couple in love, something unusual for them. Although when he approaches, the bubble explodes and they start fighting as usual, and he asks them why they behave like that. Kabakura says that they are a couple like any other. They argue, they go on dates, they spend time together. Surely it is something that even he and Narumi do, but Hirotaka contradicts him by saying that they are not the same. Later, Narumi goes to Nao's cafe and is surprised to see him wearing glasses like his brother, and he says that he cried yesterday so his eyes were so swollen that he couldn't put his contact lenses in. That awakens Narumi's gossipy curiosity, and she asks him if he cried for a girl, but he says that he cried while watching a movie, and also asks her if he was on many dates with his brother. That leaves Narumi thoughtful, since all of her outings with Hirotaka are related to their otaku tastes, and she is left thinking what it is a date. After work, Hirotaka is determined to advance in his relationship with Narumi and asks her on a date on Sunday, leaving her shocked. On Sunday, Narumi and Hirotaka go to an amusement park, and he enforces the rule of putting coins in a piggy bank if either of them talks about their otaku tastes. The problem is that their relationship is based precisely on that. So every time she sees a gay couple, she must deposit a coin for having yaoi thoughts, although Hirotaka is not safe either since he receives Pokemon Go notifications and must pay the penalty too. They go through several attractions until Narumi decides to take them on the roller coaster of terror, but in a confusion, she ends up sitting next to Kabakura and Hirotaka next to Koyanaji. The green-haired girl says that she knew they would be in the park, but she didn't think they were going to find themselves on the same roller coaster, and Hirotaka, a little crestfallen about the date, tells her that he realized that nothing has changed between Narumi and him. They continue to behave as friends, and Koyanaji advised him to give Narumi time. On the other hand, Narumi and Kabakura are having a very hard time since they are both scared cats, and he scolds her for causing confusion by making him stay away from Koyanaji at such a moment, while she crosses her arms tightly since she is so scared that she's afraid she might grab his hand. When it's all over, he advises her to be more careful next time, so she will be able to hold the hand of the one she really wanted. When Hirotaka and Narumi meet, he thinks that he has seen many sides of Narumi and thinks that she has changed a lot and a little at the same time. When they sit on a bench, Narumi gets serious and says that this has to end since it's not working, and he's sure she's about to break up with him, but in reality, she meant to lift the ban on otaku chatter. So once the barrier is lifted, she starts to tell him about her favorite anime, and he realizes that he is just like her. He has changed a lot and little at the same time because he also enjoys children's talks. After that, Narumi blushes and tells him that she bought him a gift, a pair of sober black earrings. He is left speechless, since he immediately realizes that she bought a pair of the same earrings, but in a different color, and the revelation that they are couple's earrings warms his heart so much that he is about to kiss her, but he prefers to hug her, and he internally promises to wait as long as it takes for the two of them to be on the same page in their relationship. Finally, Narumi excitedly tries to put his new earrings on Hirotaka, but unfortunately, his piercing has closed over time. 10 days later, Nao meets a boy who reminds him of his brother. He is a lonely boy who studies hard in the cafeteria while playing video games. When Nao notices that he dropped a sheet, he realizes that they go to the same college and decides to give it to him tomorrow. The next day, Nao approaches the lonely boy and gives him the sheet that he forgot in the cafeteria, and before he leaves, Nao asks him for his video game ID for meetings with his brother and his friends. On the other hand, Nao's friends wonder if he knows that the person speaking is Ku, a girl. In the afternoon, Nao meets virtually with Narumi and her friends, and they try to defeat the enemy, although he's very powerful. But fortunately, Ku appears for a few seconds and saves them. The next day, Narumi runs late to the train station and runs into Hirataka, who walks slowly as if he has all the time in the world, and it's because he doesn't have his glasses on and saw the time wrong. During a day at the office, Hirataka has many mishaps because he can barely see, although he only has to survive until lunch when he can go get his new glasses. The problem is that without glasses, he looks more handsome than usual, and Narumi scares away the girls who want to flirt with him. At lunch break, Narumi accompanies him to the optical shop to pick up his new glasses and scolds him because she thinks he approached girls on purpose with the excuse that he couldn't see. He says that he really can't see well, but she doesn't believe him because he knows he's talking to her, and he admits that he knows he's talking to her because he recognizes her without glasses, which makes Narumi happy. Meanwhile, Nao meets Ku again and asks her for help to level up, and she accepts. On the weekend, they meet virtually, and she gives him advice on how to defeat enemies and level up, but Nao keeps failing and she offers to accompany him. Within the game, Nao receives a call and Hirataka takes over Nao's wolf character and impresses Ku. When Nao returns, Kao tells him that she would like to continue playing with him. Weeks later, it's the last day of vacation and Koyanagi spends it at Kabakura's house. They make plans to go see the viewing of Sakura Blooms next year, and she wonders how the other couple is doing. It turns out that Hirataka told Narumi that he would spend his entire vacation playing a new video game, and she waited until the last day to go spend it with him. But when Narumi arrives, she finds Hirataka passed out and realizes that he hasn't eaten in 3 days. She orders him to go take a bath while she cooks something for him and calls Koyanagi to complain about the situation. Her friend laughs and says that she already behaves like a girlfriend. Suddenly, Narumi decided to cut the call because Hirataka didn't remember that she was home and came out of the shower. Hours later, Koyanagi finishes reading an entire saga and Kabakura doesn't understand how she can like so much, and she says that she won't take criticism from someone who enjoys reading Sakura Card Captor. Then she complains that he is very picky about his tastes. Unlike Hirataka, he already reads because he accepts recommendations from Narumi, and Kabakura complains because his friend is special. Even so, he asks her for the manga she is reading to give it an opportunity. On the other hand, Hirataka praises Narumi's food, and she says that after eating, they are going on a date, although it is just a walking together until they reach a park. He says that he never came to the park because as a child he never played in one, and she says that even though she was an otaku since she was a little girl, she also enjoyed the park. Suddenly, Narumi receives a notification on her cell phone and tells him that they have to go home quickly. Meanwhile, in the cafeteria where Nao works, he meets Kao. She sadly asks him if he stopped playing video games, and he says that he couldn't use his brother's computer because he didn't let go of it for a moment during these vacations. Then, before leaving, she gives him a video game guide that she herself wrote for him. On the other hand, Narumi runs home because her favorite voice actor is starring in a new variety show, but Hirataka is very tired and tells her that she can go ahead. But she refuses. She wants to watch her favorite show with him, and that gives him strength to keep running. Days later, the four friends meet at Nao's cafeteria and talk about their first crushes. Narumi, Koyanagi, and Kabakura admit that their first crushes were fictional characters, but Hirataka does not respond. At that moment, Nao arrives and Narumi asks him about his first crush, and he confesses that he was in love with his kindergarten teacher. But he also says that he admires his brother because he managed to date his crush, which leaves Kabakura and Koyanagi speechless. But Narumi doesn't realize the truth and just laughs. Days later, while Koyanagi, Hirataka, and Narumi wait for Kabakura in the cafeteria, the green-haired girl tells them that she managed to convince her boyfriend to go to an otaku show. The couple asks her about how her relationship with Kabakura began. That makes her nostalgic, and she tells them that it all started in high school. He was a third-year boy and captain of the volleyball team, and she was a second-year girl and captain of the girls' volleyball team. The gym court was too small for the two teams to train, so they always fought for turns until one day she threatened him with a photo of him in a manga store. If he didn't give her a few hours in the court, she would show the photo to everyone, so Kabakura had to give in. The days went by and Narumi couldn't improve, so Kabakura offered to help her improve her movements, on the condition that she delete the photo and promising that he wouldn't take away the court, and she accepted. As they trained together, the two became friends, although he refused to tell her his secret technique until one night he told her that when he is about to score a decisive point, he imagines an anime song in his head to feel like the main character of his own story. Koyanagi did not make fun of him, although she also did not understand his fascination with anime. The months went by until Kabakura's last game came and she cried like a little girl when she realized it was time to say goodbye since he was graduating in a few days and she would not see him again. On the other hand, Koyanaji continues the story and says that on the last day of school, she brought Kabakura to the schoolyard, and they both remembered their fights as volleyball captains. He confessed that he would miss fighting with her and she wished him good luck for his future and leaves. Koyanaji knew that if she didn't turn around, this would be the last time they would see each other, and he knew it too. So when she turns around, she realizes that he also turned around and they both hug each other, thus beginning their relationship. Suddenly, Kabakura arrives at the cafeteria and cuts off the gossip about their relationship and makes it clear that she turned around first, but she rectifies that he turned around first, and while they argue, they go to the Otaku show that she wanted to see so much. But before they leave, Koyanaji shows them a photo and then leaves with Kabakura. Days later, Nao invites Q and his friends to the arcade, and they realize that he still hasn't noticed that Q is a girl. And she's also worried because when he finds out, he will be angry because she didn't confess the truth, so she decides to tell him after the arcade. They have a fun afternoon, but when she goes to the bathroom, she doesn't realize that Nao also goes and sees that she was in the girl's bathroom. Kao turns red as a tomato and apologizes, crying deeply because she thinks she has ruined their friendship, while Nao is speechless and feels guilty for thinking Ku is a boy. The days go by and she has a return to school, so Nao tells his brother and Narumi what happened, and she says that he should apologize immediately, while Hirotaka says that Q is surely hiding in the video games. Fortunately, he was right, and Nao quickly finds Q and begins to apologize to her. But she also formally apologizes for not telling him the truth. Unfortunately, she wrote her apology so seriously that it makes her look pissed. Suddenly, a monster attacks them, and the two team up to defeat themselves, forgetting about their problems. When they win, Nao tells Kao that he misses playing with her and they both become friends again. The next day, they both meet at the arcade and the awkwardness can feel in the air, but they also meet up with Hirotaka and Narumi. Immediately, Q and Hirotaka hit it off because they both have similar personalities and they are both good at games, while Nao and Narumi enjoy watching them play. Hours later, the couple says goodbye to Nao and Q, and he invites her to go to the movies tomorrow. The next day, Ku appears on the date dressed as a girl as Narumi's suggestion, while she can't stop thinking about Hirotaka, who thanked her for teaching his brother how to play video games and also thanked her for liking Nao. They go to the movies and have a good time. After that, they go back to the arcade, and this time the awkwardness between them disappears and they go back to being their usual selves. At the end of the date, she confesses that she likes him but quickly says that she wants to be her friend and shakes his hand before running away. Nao stays in the park for hours thinking about her and how she makes him feel and decides that he doesn't want to just be her friend. Days later, the company orders a retreat at an inn and many do not want to go by, they must do it. The men in the office tell Hirotaka that it will be fun since they will be able to see their female office mates wearing yukatas in the hot springs, and that makes him imagine Narumi in one. And Narumi is happy to see Hirotaka talking with coworkers animatedly, and she decides not to get in the way of the trip and let him enjoy it with them. 2 days before the trip, Hirotaka asks Narumi for help because he doesn't know what to pack, and she confiscates a bunch of video consoles since the most important thing is clothes. Although he is distracted thinking about spending time with her at the hot springs, but soon his bubble is broken when she tells him that she wants him to have a good experience with his coworkers. The day of the trip arrives and they soon arrive at the mountain where they will stay, and the first thing they do is go to the shrine, and Narumi immediately wants to ask her boyfriend for help, but she stops herself because she remembers that she promised to let him enjoy the trip with his coworkers. Later, everyone goes to the hot springs and Hirotaka is disappointed because they are not mixed hot springs, and Kabakura takes him to the sauna, challenging him who can last the longest, and since the blue-haired boy hates losing, he accepts although he hates sweating. He asks Kabakura how many times he's talked to Koyanaji today, and it puts him in the mood because he's been busy all day. After an hour, they both come out red and exhausted. While all the employees are eating dinner, Koyanaji sees how the boss insists that Kabakura drink more than he can handle. So when he leaves, she follows him to take care of him, and he tells her that she is very cute and falls asleep on her shoulder. Meanwhile, Hirotaka goes out to smoke and to be alone for a while and sees Narumi looking for him, and when she sees him, her face lights up and she runs up to him, telling him that she is about to level up in a game. He thinks she misses him just like he misses her, but doesn't say anything about it and enjoys her company under the moon. When they return to the city, Narumi organizes a gathering at Hirotaka's apartment and invites Nao and Kao. Since they were all very social during the trip, they deserve a full night of video games. While Narumi watches her friends play, she tells Hirotaka that next time she wants to go somewhere with him alone, and he intertwines his pinky with hers, telling her that she can choose the place she wants. So Narumi chooses to go for a weekend at the beach, where they have a great time in the sea. The years go by and the friendship between the four of them endures even after Kabakura and Koyaneji's marriage. Their tastes have not changed, and they continue meeting at Neo's cafeteria, where Narumi and Koyaneji imagine what Kabakura and Hirotaka's personalities would be like as girls, and soon they are paired them with boys with their personalities, but doesn't end there. Later, Narumi tells this to Hirotaka and tells him that she also imagined what it would be like if Nao were a girl and Ku was a boy, although their story is a little frustrating because they move too slowly for Narumi's liking.